Hey everybody, Matt Barton with this week's Broker Minute or Two. And it's on a topic that we haven't talked about for a while, but it is persistent. And I get questions on it still to this day. And that is in regards to meth contamination of a property, reporting, what our obligations are as an agent, what our client's obligations are. So hopefully I can put a fine point on this in a short fashion. So let's get to the state law first. So the state law is let me scroll down here, is the Disclosure of Methamphetamine Contaminated Property Act. Definitions is the first section, not terribly important. The main section starts talking about, yeah, there is a requirement to disclose by state law, right? And so when we get these questions from our clients, it's good to know that there's actually a state law that says, yeah, if you know about it, you better be disclosing it, right? And I highlighted the key words: if an owner or a lessor has knowledge and they're trying to transfer the property or the use of the property or anything like that, they shall, right? And they're aware of the use of methamphetamines, they shall disclose to the other party. Okay. It also opens the door in section 3 saying, hey, and by the way, if you don't do this, we're opening the door for somebody to file a civil action against you to enforce this, and it will cover not only damages, but court costs and reasonable attorney's fees, right? So that should give people a moment's pause when they're questioning, should I not disclose? And then for us as real estate professionals, right, it talks about that we actually have an obligation. So on the one hand, we have a fiduciary of confidentiality, but that fiduciary, that legal responsibility of confidentiality has guardrails on it. It only goes so far. If we know something that is illegal, which now there is a law on this, and we're not reporting it, then, or if we do report it, if the seller is not going to, and we know about it, then we have an obligation, in spite of our fiduciary of confidentiality, to report it as contained in this section, right? And the good news is there's protection for us as professionals. If we don't know about it, then we can't be held to a task unless we're the actual owner of the property. Okay, so that is the fun starting point. I wanted to get a little more specific because I think Salt Lake County is pretty well organized on this, so I'm going to use them as an example, but your individual municipalities have something similar, I would imagine. All right, so in Salt Lake County, they talk about meth contamination and what it is, and some of the symptoms that can be experienced, and then as a result, if it is contaminated, the property has to be decontaminated for people to continue to use it. So here's an interesting point. I was talking to the owners of Meth Mob. They're probably the most prominent, well-known meth mitigators, at least in the northern end of the state. And something I wasn't aware of is they, as professionals, if they go in and do testing, and it comes back larger than 1 microgram per 100 centimeters squared, which is the threshold for contamination, they have 72 hours by law to report it to the county health department. And if once the county health department gets a report that a property is contaminated, they will go and issue a do not enter edict on the property, and basically the property shut down until decontamination has taken place. So just know that they're literally required to report it to the county health, and the county health, per the law, has to go and shut down the property. Okay, so let's go on just a little bit further. What does the process look like, right? Let me move my picture here. When something has been recorded to county health, right? And this section here, all decontamination processes require, and I'm going to rapid fire through these 6 items: a pre-contamination assessment, so the documentation that it's contaminated, a written work plan, a permit to decontaminate, right? And part of that permit means you have to have a certified person doing it, unless you're the owner. There is a provision that you can do it yourself, but they highly frown upon that, and it's terribly inefficient, and you're probably going to fail. So it'll be wasted time and energy and money. All right, the 4th thing is a post-contamination assessment, also known as retesting the property, a final report, and then a owner's request from the county health department to say people can now come into the property. The state law does provide for that the county health department absolutely can charge a fee for this process. Salt Lake County's management fee, not for the decontamination, but just managing the process, is $400, right? And then this last paragraph, let me zoom in here a little bit. What happens after the decontamination process is completed? The property is tested again, as we mentioned up above. If it's below the legal limit, the property is no longer considered contaminated. So I want to stop there and it removes the closed entry placard. So this directly applies to some of the questions I get. If the property has been decontaminated, do you have to disclose that it had a meth issue? The short answer is no, you do not. In the default questions that are asked in the seller's disclosures document. However, there's always a carve out for this, right? And it deals with suicides and deaths and other things that could taint a property. If the party buying specifically asks the question, was meth ever used in this property? Even if you've gone through this and it's approved that it's clean and you can go into the property, if they ask the specific question, you're specifically required to answer correctly, or your client is, that yes, it was contaminated, but the health department has now said it is completely clean or below the thresholds where they consider it contaminated. So hopefully that addresses some of the questions that come up that I get from time to time that obviously reflect some of the questions you're having. If you have a specific situation, a unique situation, I would say get on the phone and talk with your area broker. And if they're not available or need some additional guidance, I'm happy to hop on the call as well. Hope that helped, and happy hunting this week, and keep working hard and strong. This is the time to really push forward in your business. And anything we can do to help, let us know. Thanks.